Hey, welcome back to A-Aron Reacts, and this is the one that you've been waiting for me to react to because of my jazz background. So this is the jazzy version of Bad Valentine. Now at this point, we've done, and I've done actual reactions, I believe, to the Hotel Cafe version, which was the original one. I then saw her live doing it, which I haven't actually reacted to that yet. I will as a part of a series from her Glendale concert. And then we reacted to her official music video. And so now this is the third reaction I believe I'm doing to Bad Valentine specifically. And this was released just yesterday or the day before. I don't recall exactly, but very recently. And this is Toby God's channel. It's Bad Valentine from Piano Diaries. And Angelina Jordan, of course, is singing Bad Valentine, but this is the jazzy version, is what I've been told. And many of you have built it up and said this is the one. So I could not be more excited. Let's get right to it.
I stood you up on Valentine, gave you no reason
Ooh.
why. Decided I cut you off without a tear in my eye. I
Oh.
had to hide when I saw you on some table for two. I knew I'd never see the sunshine with you, so I spent my night with the moon. I thought I told you I will miss up your heart. I warned you right from the start. Roses are red and violets are blue. You are a fool to try, 'cause I'm a bad Valentine. I'm a bad Valentine. Just had a feeling it was time to let the flowers die. Maybe I've gotten so mean to you,
Ooh.
'cause you're always so nice. You even smile when you were hurt, sugar-coated my words. When you shut up and breathe on fire and show me your fire. Oh, that's how you lost all your worth. I thought I told you I will miss you.
Yes.
Roses are red, violets are blue. You are a fool to try, 'cause I'm a bad Valentine. Should have known. If you only hear what you wanna hear, you're never gonna know me. Whoa. Should have known. If you only see what you wanna see, I thought I told you I will miss of you. I want you right from the start. Yeah. Roses are red and violets are blue. You are a fool to try, 'cause I'm a bad Valentine. I'm a bad Valentine.
Wow. And we end with the violin there. The thing that keeps getting me here is the lyric, I told you I'd mess you up from the start. You sure did. You sure did. right from the start, you know? Um, oh my goodness, there is so much to unpack here. It is a completely different song, even though it's the same song. And we saw so much more diversity with her performance here. I think that we saw really, truly a more jazz version. I think certainly the harmonies, the chords, the way that Toby played them was definitely much more jazzy for sure. We'll talk about that. Maybe I'll even pull up my keyboard here and show you kind of some of the differences. We'll go down that path with this one, maybe. But I think this may well be the highest range I've seen her demonstrate. And she's definitely grown in terms of comfort there. I talked about, how I think in the next couple years we're going to see her start to really expand her range, and I think we're starting to see that here. I think we're seeing the beginnings of that here. For the first time, I can hear some level of comfort and control in the upper register, which now begins to really give her an impressive range because we know how low she can go and how solid she can go. Now she's starting to sound pretty good. I wouldn't say she sounds as amazing as some other artists on the upper register yet, but I didn't hear any flaws in that voice. It just doesn't sound as full and controlled yet, but it's definitely a further step I've seen from her in that direction. And we saw a very scat-like line in her. Let me find that. Okay, this line here, she sings, but she does it very scat-like. And I've said before, I would love to see her go down that path of scat. This is the closest I've seen her do to it, and this is that step towards that direction. We could see some scat coming from Angelina Jordan in the future, ladies and gentlemen. I think it might be coming because this line here is just a hair away from scanning. Listen to this.
When you should have been breathing fire.
When you should have been breathing. She can go skibidi-doo-ba-doo-doo. Or any variation of that. She can take that any which way and replace it with the sounds. It sounds like scat to me. It really does. And it's only a hair, it's a fraction away from scatting at this point. And why is it that I've been wanting her to scat? Well, the reason is that she's so good already with her melismas and dancing around, a single note. She has such an understanding of the melodic structure, the chord structure, the voice in her instrument, and how to use it. And she understands that it would be amazing to see her kind of take it that next level and fully improvise. That's the difference with the scatting, is that, she's completely improvising. And some of the jazz greats we've seen that with, it would be really neat. I am a sucker for scatting, so this is the first I've seen it from her. Now you'll notice I should have said this up front for sure, but we don't have any video for this one. It's just the audio. But I think in order to give this justice, I've got to go back from the beginning and I'm going to break this apart because there's just too much going on otherwise.
I stood you up on Valentine.
So here we see the intro that is most similar to the actual official music video, starting off with the I Stood You Up. But in this case, we're in a different key, I believe. Yeah, so we're actually slightly lower. So we're a minor third lower, I believe it is, similar to what we saw. I just did a reaction to I Have Nothing from Whitney Houston. So she's taken it down a little bit. So it doesn't feel as high. And she doesn't have as much edginess to her tone. It's a little bit more laid back, which she's giving off that element of somberness and kind of more sad perspective of from it, as opposed to the more in your face, hey, I stood you up, right? um And the other thing here is the chord progression is a little bit more complicated. Not the progression, I don't think. I think I may actually pull up the chord progression or let you hear some of the distinctions here, but it is more jazzy as we get going here. I think I heard a diminished chord early on and so forth.
Gave you no reason why. Decided I cut you off.
Yeah, so it's slower, right? It's slower, but little variations. Decided I'd cut you off, a delay.
Decided I cut you off.
Oh, so she
Without a
bends up to it
tear
as
in
well.
my eye.
And that right there is your first, aside if you didn't get the chords, which are slightly different, the slower tempo, which isn't necessarily indicative of jazz. If at this point you weren't feeling it was more of a jazzy take, eyes. Listen to that. That is very, very jazzy.
Without a tear in my eye.
And she's back to that stronger vibrato that she has from her roots of studying the jazz greats with that fry in it, her signature vibrato, but it's very light. It's very light. It's so controlled, right? She's staying and the other thing I didn't even comment on. I think I'll do this with the analysis of the chords, but it's just chords mostly that Toby's playing here. We don't get that same melodic line of you know right. It's just a chord. Anyway, um, yeah, this is special.
When I saw you on some table for two, I knew I'd never see the sunshine.
So she just is that laid back, swinging feel. Uh, I called the first one in the Hotel Cafe a little bit bluesy. We're seeing that here, but it's working more because she's more reserved. It's not as in your face, so it's not as it's more sung than it is like spoken with anger from the Bad Valentine version, or excuse me, the Hotel Cafe version, and in turn the official music video version.
I knew I'd never see the
I knew I
sunshine
never.
with you, so I spent my night with the moon.
And then again, moon. She's highlighting moon, which we know there's so much meaning in moon for her, right? She drove out. She's going to contemplate with the moon. She's spending the night with the moon. And then you hear more complexity with the piano as well, right?
I knew I'd never see the sunshine with you, so I spent my night with the moon. I thought I took.
And that line, I don't know if I commented on it, but that's so powerful. I knew I'd never seen the sunshine with you, meaning there's no future. So, but then there's that double entendre, sun, moon. So I spent the night with the moon, right? The rising and the sun, the falling of the cycle of Earth and the sun and so forth. So that rise was never going to be there. So I spent it with the fall. And then again, we know that the additional meaning of moon and so forth.
Told you I will miss up your.
And here, instead of it being, I told you I would mess up your, right? Like, and already starting on a high, this builds. And then heart itself builds. So this is a continuum as opposed to just kind of already being here and then raising to here with heart. She's actually starting all the way down here and raising throughout it. And the vibrato right at the beginning of the note.
I thought I told you I will miss up your. I warned you I from.
But she does. So okay, I was wrong. I only heard it once at this point, right? She only takes you up to about here at this point. She doesn't go too much, right? So it is that sentiment with that jazziness. It's more it's more melancholic, right? Dramatic. right? There's not too much emotions other than somberness and sadness at this point. She's not letting it out. She's continuing to keep it in. I don't understand why you couldn't understand. I said that, I would mess up your heart. Like she's containing it, which is a very different sentiment, right? It's just kind of that I'm to myself and, this is not what I wanted. I warned you, but whereas I do feel like there was, I don't know if anger is the right word, but it was almost a release in the other versions. We don't have that here yet. And then hearing some of these chords from the jazz side, it is definitely giving that enunciated melancholic feel. And notice that Toby is now accompanying her more instead of just the chords at the beginning. There's more movement in that piano. Complexity is building. His volume's building. Her volume's building. The phrasing's building. Everything is building, but little by little.
Roses are red and violets are blue. You are a fool to try, 'cause I'm a bad Valentine. I'm a bad.
That pause right there on bad, the release from the piano, and it's just her sustaining it. Again, in the other versions, bad is said with so much confidence. Here, there's a little bit of reservation. It's almost like a self-realization that, yeah, I guess I'm bad. Right?
Fool to try, 'cause I'm a bad
He pulls out.
Valentine. I'm a bad Valentine.
And here, now, it's a cry. This is what I'm hearing. I'm a bad Valentine. She's crying. She's breaking down. She's realizing, oh my gosh, this is actually, wow, what have I done? Completely different meaning. Completely different meaning.
Bad Valentine. I'm a bad Valentine. Just had a feeling it was time to let the flowers die.
And listen to those chords. They're dark. Right? It's ominous almost. I just had a feeling with this ominous feeling. It was time. No sense of continuing. That's not easy. You feel it.
Just had a feeling it was time to
And
let
her
the
control
flower.
there again. It's just such a subtle time with the well, not really much of a vibrato afterwards at the beginning, but just that vibrato so controlled and then just releases the volume as well.
To let the flowers die.
Flowers.
Maybe I've gotten so mean to you.
Okay, I feel like from here on, almost, for the most part, we've seen a lot of the same structure in terms of her melodic, the melody itself, right? It's felt. She's given a different timbre and a different sentiment to it, for sure, and the chords. But here, she starts actually playing with the melody a lot more and more, it feels like. And I think this is kind of that turning point.
So mean.
Which makes sense. This is self-reflection at this point, right? She's by the moon, self-expressing, just hearing her own thoughts racing through her brain, and it's not simple. There's complexity in it, right? She can't continue having the same exact thoughts because each time it becomes less or becomes more sullied, right? More tampered, more chaotic in terms of emotionally what it's doing to her.
Maybe I've gotten so mean to you.
Maybe I've gotten so mean to you. like dancing around mean, like it means something to her. Now she's feeling it. Like I did not get that feeling in the other versions of Bad Valentine, that she actually felt that it was necessarily a bad thing to be mean because I warned her. Here, it's hard for her, right? The way that she's singing that is hard for her. I realized I've gotten so mean to you. I'm sorry. Yeah, actually, I feel there's more regret in this. There is some I'm sorry here. Before it was I'm just bad, and you know what? I'm who I am. That's who I am, and you know what? That's what I need, right? Here there's remorse. I talked a little bit about remorse at the end of the other one, but we're seeing it right from the get-go here. There's contemplation, there's deep thoughts, just those subtle variations of how she's singing. It gives you that such different feel.
And so mean to you.
Very different melody.
You're always so nice.
And notice she highlights the nice. So I've gotten so mean is that sentiment, that depressing tone and thoughts. I've gotten so mean. And you were always so nice. She's highlighting the nice, like, look, you were nice to me. Wasn't to you, right? This is sad. The other versions were sassy.
Cause you're always so nice. You even
And it's not even just always so nice, it's you're always so nice. So she goes down a half step, right back up, just to show that even that in and of itself isn't without perfection. You weren't always nice. You were mostly nice, and then occasionally maybe you were human. Like, how do you even consider, right? Like, again, going back to how she wants to make you feel, like these subtle things.
you even smile when you were hurt. Sugar coated.
And listen to how different Toby sounds here, right? It's becoming much less melodramatic and more complex is the word I can think of. There's more feeling and sentiment, and he's playing louder too. The amplitude is there. He's more animated.
When you were hurt.
He's that.
Sugar coated my words. When you should
We hear strings,
fire and show.
and there it is again. I can't hear that enough. That is one of the best lines in this whole thing to me. Is this right here is just it's sublime.
My words. When you should have been breathing fire and show me you're a fighter. Oh, that's how you lost all your worth.
And so that changes the meaning so much too. The way she's singing this, right? Like she's trying to make sense of it all. When I needed you to fight, you weren't. You didn't step up. You should have been breathing fire. Right? So she's like having this internal dialogue with herself. And there's so much emotion that she just lets it out here. Right? This is the first point in the song where she's letting her emotion speak freely, and it's singing. It's dancing. It's almost scatting.
That's how you lost all your worth. I thought I told you I will miss you.
And violin. Listen to the violin there. It's giving you that notice. Like, okay, now she is really at the peak emotionally, and she's letting it out. She's starting to let it out, right? She's out by the moon by herself. We've seen that in the previous video, unless they're going to portray a different music video, which they might, right? They absolutely could. But I think she's essentially starting to cry here. She's sobbing at this point with her singing. She's just letting it out. Right? You go to a therapist and they're like, it's okay, or a friend, right? Let it out. We're seeing that right here. She's letting it out.
How you lost all your worth. I thought I told you I was meant to be yours.
And here, she had a very different melodic line where she went all the way up, and then kind of back down in the previous versions. Here, she's following the chord structure, going up. Yeah, just such a different. And also that what that also does is even though she's kind of freestyling this melisma, dancing around that note, the heart, which if you didn't know the word heart, it's almost hard to hear what she says because she's playing with it so much, right? But in this case, she's still giving it a little bit more structure, right? The heart is a unit. It has structure. It's a part of you. Um, there's still um I don't know how else to interpret that, but she's given it a little bit more structure despite all this. So maybe she's still gaining some composure, or maybe through it, maybe that's what it is. Maybe um she's saying, I thought I told you I'd mess up your heart, but maybe he's so strong that she can only partially do it, right? And maybe that, hitting those, notes is creating that little bit of structure there. The frame is still there, even though he may be broken. And listen to the tone of her voice here. There's so much emotion. There's pain. There's agony. There's frustration. There's confusion in what she's saying here.
I was you right from the start. Roses are red, violets are blue. You are a fool to try, 'cause I'm a bad Valentine. Should have known. If you only hear what you wanna hear, you're never gonna know me. Whoa, should have known.
Okay, so listen to, I think it's a cello. Um, again, creating a little bit more structure and moving around here as there's more complexity as well.
If you only hear what you wanna hear, you're never gonna know me. Whoa, should have known. If you only see what you wanna see, I thought I told you I.
So now we're seeing 3, 4 different timbres, different expressions here. I'm picturing, her just completely breaking down, right? It's almost like you're having that moment where you realize it's over. It's like, I knew it was going to end this way, but why did it have to end that way? But I told you. And she's kind of having this conversation and it's all coming out. And that's, I think, why we're seeing all these different things like that, upper register, which again is the cleanest I've ever heard her sound up there. And I think she takes it, especially towards the end, higher than I've heard her sing. Um, I think that's the real legitimate weeping.
Should have known. If you only see what you wanna see, I thought I told you I will miss it.
Should have known if you only see what you want to see. So that causes her to weep. In other words, why couldn't you just see me for what I am and what I want to, who I am, and just be yourself? That's too much. And I should have known. I've seen it all along.
Told you I will miss you.
Now the rage comes out like, how did you not know? I told you it would end this way. Why didn't you listen to me? I told you I'd mess up your heart. Right? It's almost like she wants to say, "You dumb son of," right? Like, obviously, emotionally, but that's that moment in that emotional turmoil we're seeing here. And listen to those chords from Toby behind this. Here we again seeing that arpeggiated, chord on Roses Are Red, right? So, that poetry, Roses Are Red, that's kind of something that always is the case, at least at Tour de the Poems. Obviously, roses don't have to be red, but that's the idea. It's kind of factual. So in other words, there's always these basic rules or basic tenets of love. And again, I've talked about this in before. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic love, but either way, this is factual. So again, she's creating that chord structure, right? This is the piece that was set. We already knew this. We already knew that I would mess you up because, right? Like this is kind of the play on it. And here she's actually singing like kind of very traditional jazz ways, highlighting that chord and just the tone, the way she sings it is very jazzy here. Very jazzy. Listen how she ends full. She bends it up. But just so like I cannot do it. It's just so too quick. Um she flips up into her falsetto. And it's so subtle, but so clean. So clean. And listen to the anguish in try. To try. And now she's just crying at the end. She's just crying. She's weeping. And again, what an incredible full cycle. Because listen to how she ends this. Remember the Hotel Cafe, how it started off. Piano, and then as she starts coming in, you hear the violin. Listen to how this ends. Sorry, I just can't play the violin, so I don't know. I'm thinking like this, right? These two are a match made in heaven. Toby, Angelina. I really hope, I really, really hope that, you're able to get the fame for your sake, right? The spread for your sake, that you're able to get your message out there, that people can enjoy this, right? That you're able to achieve what you want to achieve, which I know is actually for the people to hear it because it deserves it. And on that note, we are starting to get organized. Angels are starting to get organized and trying to help promote her. Now, this is very beginning stages, but we're working on getting a website up with discussion forums, a structured actual plan for things. Comment below. Just say, yes, I'm interested in promoting, or I don't know what's short. Promote, maybe just use the word promote, or something to that effect. If you're interested in learning more, participating, or what, um, it at least gives me an idea. I don't know if I'll necessarily respond. We do have a survey that I'm working through where we're asking people for feedback and stuff. But um, you know, I'm looking to by the end of tomorrow, probably before you even this gets posted publicly, have some things that people can do yeah, actually, you know what, let's do that in the description. You could still do the promote thing, but in the description I'm going to include a link of some things that you can do, every angel can do, to help promote her. That's actually the goal, for by end of day tomorrow, to have that together. So, and it's based on the survey I was talking about, so we'll leave it at that. But we're going to help this cause, and I need your help. We all need your help. So thank you. This was incredible. Oh, actually, no, I want to take you on a little bit of a treat here. I don't think I've done this with her before, so let's do that. Okay, so in the original Bad Valentine versions before this one, um, it was really simple, right? We start with B minor, and then we go actually into D, right? And it's actually only three notes of the chord that they're playing with. It's called a triad. It's a smaller form. It's essentially the base of a chord, right? So it just sounds like this. It's simple, right? Um, and that's the premise. And there isn't a lot of complexity to what they're doing. I mean, at one point they do a more of a diminished chord, but it mostly retains that, and it keeps that kind of simple and lively. It is in a minor key, so it does feel a little bit more sad and melancholic as they typically do, but it's, I guess you could call it, more mainstream in terms of chord structure. Now, in this version, the jazzy version, first of all, it's in a different key, right? So she takes it down, right? And so we were in B minor before, which is here. This is in G. So she takes it down that minor third, original here, right? Which is the same thing if you watch my I Have Nothing video of her doing Whitney Houston. She takes it down that minor third from the original key, from G down to E, right? And so, but what's different here is, instead of that, arpeggiated chord in the original, we don't get that here. We get a chord, right? And it starts with the simple triad, but as we get going, we do some really interesting things that I'm not going to get super detailed on, but one of the main ones is adding additional elements to that chord, right? Adding more complexity, right? Instead of just doing, a chord like this, we can add a seventh, give it a little bit more color. And then in some cases, what she does is, instead of adding that, dominant seventh, she adds a major to give it, or Toby adds a major seventh to give it a little bit more tension. Now there's different voicings of it, but that seventh, major seventh, is so leading into that next note that it gives it that tension. These two together give it that tension. Now you don't hear it as strongly with the whole chord, especially if you do a different voicing of it, but it does create more complexity. And then in some cases, they're adding different variations of. Sorry, I wrote down the chord, so I'm looking back and forth. But you see a ninth, which I'm not going to go any further than this really, but just to let you hear kind of a little bit of a difference. Right, if we did the same G minor like this, and we add a ninth, listen to how that sounds. So you can do it this way, or you can even do it close. It adds so much more tension, color, dynamics, and so forth. And so there's so much more being done with the chord structure behind this, and the way that it's being played by Toby, to give it that jazzy feel that you're hearing, that maybe you didn't know or understand what's happening. In addition to that, she's playing on those chords and singing those notes and she's also adopting a more jazzy feel, a timbre, you know, the sound of her voice, the tone, and everything to it, the stylistic choices, the way that she's adding vibratos, and all of these things to it. So, anyway, I think I'll end it here. Hopefully, this was worth watching. That little end, I'm curious, but I usually don't have time to do that, so please don't expect this normally. But since she had done all of these kind of mainstream versions and went over to the jazz one, and I know many of you are waiting on, let's wait to hear Aaron, you know, the jazz background. What makes this jazz? What has changed? I think here it is appropriate to kind of show and demonstrate some of those changes. So we'll leave it at thanks much, and we will see you in the next one.